Hello internet friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lindsay Lijo. Hello, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about ringing the alarm to some sensory hacks, if you will, some ways to control the sensory to make it work for you versus work against you. So to all of my intuitive type friends, I hope you find this video valuable. These are some things that work for me to make my life a little easier. And even if you're someone who's savior sensory, these things may help you as well too. So we'll get right into it. All right, so as an INTJ, this sensory is hard. I personally am very forgetful unless I have certain measures in place to remind myself of certain things. And for all these things, I use alarms to get it done. So you have three categories for setting alarms in my book. Alarms to prep for something that will happen, alarms for something during the time in which it should be happening, and then alarms to remind yourself when something should be finished or complete. All right, so let's talk about the first one, an alarm to prep for something that will be happening. So for myself, let's say that there's something that's going on that day that is outside of my normal pattern of doing things, right? And at some point during the day, I'm going to have to change my regular pattern to get ready for whatever this other thing is. Let's maybe say that I have to go to a wedding that day, and about 2 hours before I should be at the wedding, let's say it takes about, an hour to get there. So let's say about 2 hours before that time, I should be getting ready to go to this wedding. What I'll do is I will set an alarm for that time so that no matter what I'm doing within my normal day, within my probably normal things that I'm doing, I know, okay, this is the time where I stop doing that flow of things and now I switch over to I'm going to prepare for this thing that will be happening. All right, so example for number 2, to set an alarm for when something should be happening in that current moment. This is usually what people think about when they are setting their alarm for getting up in the morning. However, yes, I do that, but outside of that, I use it for many other things. So one example I like to give of when I set the alarm for when something should be happening is when I'm driving home from work, and we all get into autopilot when we're driving usually, and let's say I have to go get dog food from the store that day before I get home, right? I will 100% forget to go stop and get the dog food unless I set myself an alarm to go off during the time I should be passing the exit for the dog food store. To some of you, I understand that may sound ridiculous, but the reality is I know my pattern of I will forget unless something is literally beeping, annoying sound in my face to be like, oh, this is what you have to stop right now and do this thing. Now, sometimes I label my alarms, sometimes I don't. Usually I know based off that day what I've set the alarm for, because there's usually few things that are outside of my normal that I have to set an alarm for. But sometimes I'll label them as well, especially if I set them like a few days in advance. All right, and the example for number 3, which is setting an alarm for when things should be finished. So a pretty normal example for this would be, I'm putting my laundry in the washing machine. In about 50 minutes it will be done. I'm gonna set my alarm for that time so I can take it from the washing machine to the dryer so that I get it done within X amount of time. So a more unconventional way of using this alarm system would be to say, at this time of day, I should have this amount of things done, let's say in my list of things to do. Especially if I have a lot of things to do that day and I need to keep myself on track with what I need to output that day, if it's very intense, I will set an alarm to be like, okay, by 3 o'clock, I should have had X and Y done. So then I can start on Z. And that keeps my brain focused towards, I know that time is coming up, so I need to make sure this amount of stuff is done before that time comes up. All right, and finally here, how do you apply the alarm method to your life? So number 1 is you're going to actually set the alarm. As you can see here on my phone, I have lots of alarms, lots and lots of them. And it's not because I snooze my alarms, it's just because depending on that day, will be a different time that I have to respond and to do something in reality. And so that's just why they all kind of exist in there, because at all times of the day, I could have you know, I could be potentially setting an alarm for something and then I don't delete them because at some point I'm going to need to use it again. So number one, set the alarm. Number two, respond to the alarm. If you're someone who tends to snooze your alarms, don't do that if you have any ability not to do that. So make the habit not snoozing the alarm, or especially don't turn the alarm off and then go back to what you were doing. So that's number three, actually. So if something isn't ready, like let's say that you were trying to get X and Y done before 3 o'clock, so you could start on number Z, letter Z. So maybe you're not quite there yet, but you have like a few more things to do. Just snooze that alarm so that it'll remind you again that, okay, you're supposed to be transitioning to Z now. Don't just turn the alarm off. But of course, if you can, number two, respond to it in the real time, if at all possible. And number four, remember that there is no task too small to set an alarm for. I've set alarms to remember to check the mail, to remember to drink water, to remember to do a lot of things. And at first glance, it may be like, did you really have to do that? But the thing is I know myself, and I know if I do not remind myself, if I don't have something to go off and be like, hey, remember that thing, that real life thing, I'm going to forget because my brain's already going, you know, somewhere else. All right, that's it for this video. I hope you learned some applicational concepts that you can apply in your daily life. If you'd like to book time with me to talk about alarms or other things, my link for Snug is down below. And I will see you in my next video. Have a great one. Bye. Andy, no. Not right now. No. However, where I will...
Alarm for when?
No, Siri. Don't set the alarm.